Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Gale for MouthpieceSports.com. I'd like to welcome you here to Sullivan Steakhouse with our fine panel of football experts. Tim Terrell on the end, Jim Turner in the middle, and Ronnie Bull. These individuals have experienced the lifestyle of a professional athlete in and around Chicago, and we have some questions for them, important questions. Starting with you, Ronnie. Now, Ronnie played in the heyday, and when I mean heyday, I'm talking post-leather helmets.
Pretty close, pretty close.
Pre-ESPN. Now, when you were playing, Ronnie, let me ask you this one question, and I know it's burning in all of our minds. Did they have groupies back in those days?
Yes, they did.
They did, really?
Yes, they did. The stories we can tell off camera.
Oh, really?
We had,
okay.
We had, maybe not as big as they have them today, but we had them.
Well, has society changed, do you think? Do you think the way that they see sports and sports heroes, you think that's different now?
A little bit more. I think it's more money obsessed than it was when we played. You know, then it was the score of a professional athlete back when I played, yeah. A place we used to go to called the Cottage. We would hang out at the Cottage. Down from Wrigley Field was the place that you went to get in trouble.
Of course, these are just what you've heard. You've never been there. You've never experienced this personally, right? Or?
Personally,
no.
Just stories I've heard.
Absolutely, Jim. Let me ask you this. Now, you've left the field of athletics. You're in the business world now.
I am.
And an insurance salesman. No, let me rephrase that. Not insurance salesman. He is the grand poobah of insurance salesmen. Explain.
Well, I was retired in 2002, and I opened up my own State Farm insurance agency. So a lot like playing and coaching, I have to go out and hire good people now and try to mold a team so we can become successful. So I appreciate the Grand Poobah comment because I feel that same way about State Farm. So, and our agency, of course.
Well, you always have to support your local State Farm agency. Now, the question I have for you is, you know, when you look at an individual and you want to offer insurance to that individual, if you had a professional athlete and you know that he's had the same lifestyle that you've experienced yourself, do you give him preferential treatment?
Well, we try to treat everyone the same.
Oh,
okay.
Here we go.
We try to
Boy,
treat
here
everyone
we
the same.
go.
No, because you think about it. Even if you're not a professional athlete, what you have is what you have, and what you have is very valuable to you. So if somebody's making, you know, $50,000 a year, their family is just as valuable to somebody making $50 million a year. So we try to sit down with everyone, make sure all their bases are covered, find out what things that they need. Now, I may get an autograph. I'm still a fan also out of the professional athlete.
Okay.
But
all right.
As far as, you know, treat someone differently, we give everyone the best treatment we can.
Spoken like true upper management. Tim, now when we talked earlier, you're the president of the chapter here in Chicago that handles the professional athletes from the NFL and what we've experienced and what we're going through. There's a big debate nowadays when we talk about disability and our pension plan. Now, the general population, they don't understand that there's a huge difference between Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA. Explain what the problems are.
Well, it's not just the population, the average population. The average player doesn't really know a lot about, and including myself. There's so much information out there about the pension plan and what's fair and what's not fair, the disability, and I'm in the process of not only educating myself, but as these guys will tell you, if you're on my email list, you're getting hammered with information, and we're trying to learn right now. We're trying to learn, you know, the guys just right now don't feel that what's going on right now is fair, and we're trying to figure out what fair is, and to really break it down, because again, as we talked about earlier, this debate, this talk can go on, and numbers are thrown around comparing us to baseball. It's an $8 billion industry in football. In baseball, it's a $3.5 billion, something like that. Why isn't more money being distributed to these guys with these disabilities? You know, they talk about Johnny Unitas, how he died, a guy who the NFL denied disability because of some red tape involvement. And so, again, we're just trying to figure out what fair is. So in one sitting, it's so difficult to answer that question of what's going on or what's fair. to simplify it, we're trying to figure out what fair is and try to get just more benefits and better pension plan for the guys.
Well, when you talk about benefits and pension plans, you have to go back to where it all began. And we're all fortunate enough to be here at Sullivan Steakhouse here in Chicago, where not only the Bears' storied franchise has always been a huge mainstay when it comes to attention to the NFL, but Ronnie Bullhill actually played for the founding father, George Halas. What was that like, Ronnie?
Well, it was it's an experience to play for Halas. You know, a lot of people, a lot of things that he has said and done. If it hadn't been for him, there probably wouldn't. The NFL probably wouldn't be where it is today, on a thing. But he was a real tough taskmaster. In fact, it was 1962, my rookie year, that we voted to go into the union. And he got up for about 15 or 20 minutes, you know, trying to talk us out of it. But we went ahead and voted to join the union. He didn't say too much about it, but one of the things he said, now I've got oil wells and stuff like that we'll take care of you guys when you retire. So it was about 2 years after we had joined the union. Fred Williams asked, Coach, whatever happened to those oil wells that you were going to get? He kind of laughed and says, well, I think they all went dry.
Well, let me ask you, back in those days when you did join the union, what did they promise you? What were you guys getting from being part of the union?
Really, it was just together in negotiation for better contracts and stuff like that. We really didn't know exactly where we were going to go. We just wanted to unite. I think basically what they were trying to do is get a little bit better benefits. They were trying to get a little bit more for the number of players on the squad. Mm-hmm. Also, payment for preseason games. You know, some of the teams got nothing. Halas paid us $100. You know, some paid $50, some paid nothing. You know, so it was just little things that they tried to work on back then to get it started. It's phenomenal of where it has gone from the time we're talking about $50 and $100, where they're talking in millions now.
So as a player that's been retired myself, I look at the athletes nowadays and people ask me, does it upset you to see the salaries that they're making? And it's usually predicated on what we did beforehand. And I ask you, Ronnie, because, I mean, we all came after you. And you basically were part of the foundation that created what we have today.
Well, what had happened is that about that same time is when the AFL and the NFL were two separate unit entities,
right.
and they came together to make them a stronger thing. That's when, because salaries were lower. Even in 61, the salaries were in the teens, 17, 18,000. When they merged, the salaries did go up, including the signing bonuses and stuff like that. I signed for $20,000, which was pretty good money then because they called me money bags, you know, because they weren't making that type of money now. Now you look at it, I was #1 draft choice, 7th player taken in the draft. In today's standards, they'd probably start negotiating my signing contract probably anywhere around the $50 million mark.
Let's get you back in shape, Ronnie.
$50 million
and
never too late.
10,000 is not going. But I think where they are today is because of where we were back then. We helped set the foundation, and it grew from there. The other thing, too, is at that time we weren't allowed agents. We didn't have anyone negotiating our contract for us. We had to do it ourselves. In other words, I had to go eyeball to eyeball with Halas. Now, if you've ever had to do that, you know it's quite a job. You know, I tell people it's starting to feel like you're standing between the dog and the fire hydrant when you're dealing with Halas.